Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today, I'm going to be talking to Molly Winkle, a longtime industry veteran, a top producer, and a team leader. And we're going to be talking about how you can build out a year's worth of marketing all in one simple plan. And we're going to teach a perfect marketing game plan for realtors. So, as always, if you have any questions, put them in the box down below. Make sure you like, subscribe, check out all the links in the description, and let's jump right in. As always, if you like money, you like real estate, hit that subscribe button, and let's welcome Molly Winkle.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Oliver. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. You've done a couple trainings on this in the past, which is why I wanted to have you on. I think it's a really relevant topic. I think it's a great thing for us to be thinking about in terms of putting a game plan together for the whole year, as opposed to just kind of trying to market as we go, or when we get a new listing and then it becomes more frantic and things like that. But why don't we just talk about big picture, kind of your philosophy and how you look at like planning out the year for your business?
Absolutely. I am a little bit different and a little more old school than a lot of the agents that might be watching this, right? I still use a digital calendar for sure, but I have this idea that you need to get everything out of your head, right? We have all of these really great ideas when we sit and we mastermind with each other and we come up with all of these great plans, and then they seem to fall by the wayside because we're not really um putting anything into action or setting a plan up, right? And so that's what I have found with a wall calendar of all simple things. Works best for me and for my agents. Most of the agents that I talk to when we do this class or we talk about this setting their year up, they explain how much of a difference this made in their business. And it's something that's so incredibly simple that it's almost like it gets missed in all of the new fancy shiny object things that we are always trying to do. And so I'm a big believer that once you get all of your ideas out of your head, put them all on paper, the way that we like make that actually happen and bring everything to fruition is by putting it on a calendar that you look at all year long on your wall, and you know exactly where you're supposed to be and exactly what you're supposed to be doing that year with your marketing, with your business, because we're all going to get sucked into the day to day, putting out fires, doing deals, all this kind of stuff. So when
Yeah.
you talk about your marketing, the easiest way to do it is to plan it and then actually put it somewhere where you can see it and you know what you're supposed to be doing. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that because oftentimes, you'll come up with a great idea like, "Oh, I'm going to do this for Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day or whatever it is." And then next thing you know, St. Patrick's Day is 2 weeks away and you didn't have the time to put it together because you kind of just forgot. And then so I love the idea of having the plan, having the visual, things like that. Why don't we kind of dive into the
Sure.
types of things that you're looking to put onto your game plan for the year? Like, because I think what's important is that, and again, guys, all of you on the live, if you have any questions, let us know. We're going to make this interactive. But, we want to talk about this in terms of game plan for newer agents and a game plan for experienced agents, teams, top producers, things like that. But from your perspective, like, what are the things that we should have on there throughout the year?
Well, I think, the difference between a new agent and an experienced agent or a team lead is just the activities that you're doing. But at the end of the day, you can take this whole idea of what we do, right? And implement it for yourself and your team. And these are big picture items. These are not your small, I need to answer emails, and this is not time blocking necessarily. This is your bigger stuff. So if you want to share the screen for this first one, there's this story about that we've all heard, right? About the guy, the professor that puts the ball rocks in the jar, and he starts off with the big rocks first, and he asks the class if it's full, and then they say yes, and then he adds little rocks, and then he adds sand, and then he adds water, right? That's basically what we're going to be doing with this calendar. So if you show the first one, I want to
Yeah,
get
I want to just add to that. I think that is a good distinction. Is this isn't a calendar for how many prospecting calls you're going to make each week, things like that. This is more for events that you want to do,
Yes,
marketing pieces that you want to send out, content maybe that you want to produce, and any other things that we'll kind of dive into a little deeper. But
absolutely.
let me pull
So
this up here.
right. So it starts simple, right? This one right here is the idea that you are, and this is my wall calendar, by the way. I did this up and down and I should have done it horizontally instead. Sorry. But this is the example that I wanted to show, which is for me personally, I don't work Thanksgiving week. I don't work for that those last 2 weeks in December because I'm going to be going up to our cabin. This is like my son's spring break. He has 2 weeks, and then we try to take an annual family trip. Um, and here I've got June 30th for whatever reason. I've got that day marked off. I'm just going to take that weekend off. I don't even remember what I was doing there. And then, like this year in January, we are going on a 2 week cruise, and this is when we get back. And then I'm giving myself a couple of days. So you want to take the big items that you're doing for the year, whatever those may be, your anniversary dinners so that you don't forget, birthday dinners or weekends or something along those lines. And you want to start by adding those. Those are our big boulder or big rock items that are really important that we don't want to miss. And also, we're going to schedule the rest of this around it. So if I
Yeah,
can go
I
ahead.
actually I like what you did there. I like that you're obviously like most of us probably plan things very last minute, but I think this is a good practice in terms of when you see that big calendar, whether it's a desktop, it's on the wall, it's digital, however you like to do it, but it's that visual and then it kind of forces you to plan out the year, right? So you've got your kids, the breaks that they have, you've got your vacations or at least a ballpark of when you want to take vacations and different days you want to build off, and we're going to work backwards off of that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, that you can change it up. This is the easiest thing, which is ridiculous, right? Is to get wet erase markers. So these it sounds ridiculous, but you'll use a dry erase and it'll rub off. We want it to stay there all year, but we still want the ability to like erase it and change and adjust accordingly. So the next item that I always put up, right, is going to be what I call your alphabet calls, right? So there's 52 weeks in the year, 26 letters in the alphabet, which means if you put these out on your calendar, and you can see it here where it's like S and T, then UV on the same day, W. Pick your day of the week when you're making your calls. And it's funny because I just was speaking with another team lead who has a lot of agents, and he realized over the Thanksgiving holiday that he hadn't reached out to his sphere in some time. And so he took one of the days of his Thanksgiving weekend and started making calls to everybody. And that's kind of what I want to avoid is when I'm taking those days off, I want to actually have them off. And I don't want to be thinking about what I should have been getting done and, oh, yeah, let me hurry up and blast out. So, what this does, if you look, you've got A and B, C and D. Now, why, right? Because
So real quick, let me just not to cut you off there, but
no,
just for the people that can't see the visuals, so she's basically taking every week on Tuesday and she's writing A, B on the first Tuesday, C, D on the second Tuesday, E, F on the third, and just kind of breaking down the full alphabet from there. And then what are you doing with those?
that's what I'm calling my sphere. You're doing the reach out and the touches that you need to be doing throughout the year. So what you'll find as we build this calendar is we end up with about 72 touches for my sphere of influence and people that I'm supposed to be calling and staying in contact with, but I'm hitting them from every angle. I'm hitting them in their mailbox, in their email, at their front door, for events that I throw. And this is the one for phone calls or text messages. I prefer phone calls, but however it is that you're able to get in touch with them. And what I wanted to point out is I have these days that we took off, right, in this first 3 weeks that I take off for the year. So when I get back, I can't do A, B, C, and D. So that's the reason why I'm going to double up and knowing what I'm doing. So this will be something like I want to take the first name, right? So Albert and Becky is who I'm going to be calling on this day. Anybody whose first names begins with A or B. So you're going to have times like when you start to get down to the end of the alphabet where you're calling people that start with Z. I know a girl named Xiomara that starts with Z, and then like Xavier that starts with an X. So you're going to, some of those days, you're not going to have a whole lot of calls, right? But if you're like me and you've got Jay here, well, that's going to be Jose and Julian and, there's
And
Javier.
Jamie and John and Jeff and Joseph.
Those are going to be big days of calling, right? So I'm not going to double those up. But the reason why I double them up here is because I'm taking time off. I'm taking this spring break off and I'm not going to be making calls that day. But I know that when I get back, I know who I'm supposed to call and, when I'm supposed to make those calls so that it's spread out over about 6 months. If you noticed, you're
Yeah.
calling the people with P in October, and then you're also calling them here in April. And that, so it helps you break up to where you're actually calling them twice a year to catch up, go on their social media, find out what's going on with them, and have that discussion, just to catch up with them and then remind them, of course, right? Oh, by the way, don't forget that I'm in real estate. So if you know of anybody, I'd really love to be able to help them out. Just don't
Yes.
forget that this is what I do. Um,
So I'm just gonna recap the first two steps here. First step one, you took the year calendar, you put in all the vacations you want to do, all the days off you want to take, any kids events you want to be at, all of those things. And
mhm.
then the next, you X'd out those on the calendar. And then after that, you're adding in your database as the next step. So and some of the more obscure letters you're doubling up, but like the main letters with lots of names, those are just one per Tuesday. And what that does is each week you're making contacts with your database. So to your point, the goal by the end of this is to get those 72 touches throughout the year, which, as you said, becomes very easy when you plan it out and kind of diversify the ways that you're approaching people based on phone calls first, and then we'll get into the rest.
Yeah, and it's a way of keeping your um activities that you're supposed to do. It's a way of keeping that top of mind and present, right?
And holding
That's
yourself accountable.
absolutely, because that's the way, like, we get caught up in the minutia of our business and then we forget. So by having it on your wall, you know that no matter what, on that, on Tuesdays, you're making your phone calls. So you can put out all your fires, and then at the end of the day, you're making your phone calls, or you make them first thing and you've made your phone calls for the day, and then you go put out your fires, whatever it is. And that's why I say this is not time blocking per se. This is an activity that has to be done on this day. And it
Yeah.
also
It's a
helps.
big picture plan, which is why I like it.
Absolutely. So the next one that we're going to get into, oh, the next one that we're going to get into here is birthdays and anniversaries. So let me see if I can get this a little bit better to where you can see it. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. Sorry. um a little bit better to where you can see it, because here we start adding in, so our alphabet calls are added in, and then I use the word news and birthday. And what this is for is for those of you that are sending out newsletters and this sort of thing, where if you're whether it's in the mail or via email, however it is, this is to remind you to send out your newsletter. And then the other one is birthday cards and anniversary cards. So something that I will do is I will send out birthday cards for them, their kids, their dogs, whatever. And then anniversary cards. So if you know their anniversary, their wedding anniversary, if they're married, or their purchase anniversary, then you
Yeah.
want to send out birthday and anniversary cards. And those are handwritten cards that are getting sent in the mail. And instead of trying to think about it, forever in advance, I'm going to send out everybody that has it in February. I'm going to send them out on this day, the last Friday of the month prior. So I'm going to send it out the
Smart.
last Friday of the month in January for everybody that's in the month of February. So I go through in my calendar and I'm going to mark all of these on here. So that way I know what day it is that I'm supposed to sit down and do all of
Yeah.
those, and then address them, and then have them mailed out. You
And
do it or
just
your assistant does it.
exactly, just to describe that a little bit, you've got every other what looks like Thursday on the calendar. The first Thursday, you're doing your newsletter or mail piece or whatever that is. And then the last Thursday, you're doing the birthday cards for the next month. And then quick hack on that, if you go into Facebook, you can see upcoming birthdays for the whole next month. So you can
Yeah.
literally see all of your friends list birthday for the following month, and you can either add them and or if they're already in your database, even better.
Absolutely. And this is the other thing, right? Is that and I just wanted to correct you on one thing, which is it's not the every other week. It ends up being kind of like that because what I do is I do this second Thursday or Friday in this case. So second Friday is when I'm going to send out the newsletter, and the last Friday is when I'm going to send out my birthday cards. And the reason why I just want to make that distinction is when we start trying to do every 2 weeks or every whatever, you start running into these days that you've marked off, or you
Right.
start running into like, oh, that's a Saturday. So when do you just make it harder than it has to be. So by
Got it.
knowing that you're going to do that on a Friday and it's the last Friday, it's fine to send out and it arrives to them at the end of January for, hey, happy birthday in February. They're not going to be offended. They got it. Right. So,
Perfect.
so that's one thing that you want to do. And this is, again, if you've got a CRM that sends this stuff out automatically, fantastic. I know that you've got like gift giving things where it sends them out. That's perfectly fine as well if you're going to do that. This is just my reminder because I was trained to do a handwritten note for birthdays and anniversaries. And so this is how I make sure that I'm giving that personal touch and that I make sure that I get it done
And I
that
was
way.
going to say, and I think that is the pro tip there. I don't think it's send them an email on their birthday. I think it's send them a handwritten card in the mail because when we were all kids, we all used to get tons of stuff on our birthdays. And now that we're adults, it's almost just an afterthought. And so to get a birthday card from someone is, it's different. It shows that you care, it shows you're paying attention, and it adds that personal touch. So I love what
Right.
you're doing there.
Thank you. And this is going to be the same. Actually, one of our agents Zap sends out a video birthday message, and he's got this kind of half automated and half where he has to do it. But for him, he can say, "This is the day that I'm going to be filming." For everybody that has a birthday month, and then setting it up for the automation for whenever it goes out. However it is that
Right.
you run your business, right? That is a huge thing. He personalizes them. But like I said, mine is I want a card. I want a written card. It takes time. The effort is
And I
there. I
think and I
appreciate it.
think in that case, either one is good, right? I think it's just the customized individual thing, right? Like if you shoot a video on your phone, hey Molly, just so stoked, to know you. How you're such a great friend. Happy birthday, all the best. Love
Right.
you, mean it. Send it, right? That's just as good as the card. So whatever your preference is there, I think is good.
Absolutely. And like I said, these are your big picture items that you know you need to get done on this day. And this
Okay.
way you're not remembering midway through February that you were supposed to send birthday cards out for February. Like
Yep.
that you
Exactly.
kind of miss the mark, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Okay, so we've got vacations and days off. We've got our sphere days to call. We've got our newsletter to send out. We've got our personalized cards. Where are we going next?
okay, so the next one that we do, I actually give let me stop sharing there. So I actually give a class on open houses. And this one is going to be huge especially for the newer agents that are still hosting open houses and trying to make that work. Open houses to me is an absolute numbers game, right? And the way that I teach this is to know how many I'm sorry, I think I'm on the wrong one. How many, there we go. Open houses you need to hold for the year. So you may want to hold this one back for just a second before we
Okay.
share this one, because it gets kind of confusing and I want to be able to explain that um, everything in this business is a numbers game, and you need to know what your capture rate is. So the way that I teach this in the beginning is that open houses are going to have about a 7% capture rate. If they've got a 7% capture rate and 6 is the average number of clients or potential clients that will come through, on any given open house, then you're able to work the math backwards to figure out how many open houses you need to hold per year in order to capture that many clients. So this one is a harder one to understand, but you can do it with anything. Like if you're going to go spend money for online leads and this sort of thing, the capture rate is 2%. So if they tell you you should get about this many calls, you can back your numbers out based on what you should be, the number of clients that you should be able to get. So when I do this, the number that I use this for open houses for this particular example is going to be that I want to get roughly 6 clients from open houses the following year. That's the number of deals that I want to close, which means if I back the numbers out, then I know I need to hold about 36, 37 open houses for the entire year. And this is a harder one for agents to kind of understand is they make the decision to host an open house at the last minute, which you can always change this. But we go on vacation and then we forget and we don't know when we're supposed to hold them open. And then at the end of the year, you find that you've held about 5 open houses that year. And, open houses don't work and I didn't get any business out of it. And, Molly's crazy. So now if you
Well,
want to show,
just to interject on that, I will say that right now, for the first time in a long time, we're actually seeing homes sell at an open house. Like people walking into the house and buying that house.
yep,
So, for the last couple of years, it hasn't been such a lucrative strategy, but we're definitely seeing that, coming back a lot more. So I like where you're going.
absolutely. I mean, we've got to get back to the basics, right? And the basics is you need to be in front of as many potential people as possible.
Yeah.
And an open house is you're getting in front of as many people as possible. So if
Yeah.
you show the screen now, you'll see I have abbreviated this with just OH. Okay, so let me kind of zoom
Got it.
in here a little bit more. So you've got an open house and an open house, an open house and an open house. And basically what I did is I know I'm going to host open houses this weekend and this weekend. I'm going to take this weekend off. If you're anything like me and I'm kind of intense about, my weekends, if I take the day off, I get really, it almost stresses me out to take a day off because I feel like I should have been doing something. And so instead of doing that, I know that my numbers are going to work for the year because in this particular one, in this calendar, I did 37 open houses for the year, which means I can take this weekend off to show property, to make calls, to do whatever, all the minutia that you're doing within your business. But I know that I'm going to be hosting an open house on this weekend. I don't know
Yeah.
where, right? I don't know where, I don't know the times, I don't know all of the details of it, but I know that I'm scheduled to. So come this Monday before, and you can even mark it, is to find the open house, right?
Right.
So my
Yeah, if
project
you
on
don't
this.
have the listing, you gotta find a listing to hold open.
Exactly. And if you
Right.
have a listing and you need to change it, you can just add them in and then take them off somewhere else, as long as the number of open houses per year does not change.
Yeah, that's a great distinction, and just looking at the calendar here, it looks like every other week-ish, you're doing an open house.
Yeah, I did every other week because I'm going to take this time off. Again, it all comes back to what am I taking off? I'm
Right.
taking 2 weeks off for spring break to go spend with my kids if that's what you want to do. I'm taking these weeks off, and this allows me to go, okay, I know that I should, based on the numbers, I should get about 6 clients. So if you're keeping track of the number of groups that come in to each open house, then you know that if you are below the number 6 groups that come in, then we need to work on your marketing because maybe you're not marketing well enough to get enough people in. If you're getting 6 groups of people or more and you're not capturing the number that you should be capturing, then you're able to go, okay, I need to work on what I'm saying at the open house. I need to work on how I'm presenting at the open house, what my follow-up is. So that's the
Yeah.
key, is to know your numbers. This allows you to organize it, and then you can implement those things that allow you to to keep track of what your numbers are, to figure out how you need to adjust your business accordingly. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I would also add, each time you do it, you're going to get better at it. And the more open houses you do, you'll implement something here, you'll implement something there. And pretty soon you will get to those higher conversion rates as you do them more and get better. Quick
Absolutely.
side question, because I know a lot of there's agents out there that don't like doing open houses or do other things. Are there, if they like, let's say they like buyer seminars or different stuff like that. Is that something we could just switch out?
Um, I don't know about switching out because again, your highest capture rate is going to be at an open house. And I just go on the stats, right? And so this is for newer
Okay.
agents.
Fair enough.
However,
Totally agree.
however, right? In another screen, the next one is when we're going to be discussing events.
Got
And
it.
that is a totally different thing. Now, the other thing that I added on here though that I wanted to point out is drop off. So if you are a Buffini, which I am, then you have these items of value that you drop off, or
Okay. Let's
they
talk
call
about
them
that.
pop buys, right? And they're small, goofy gifts. Like one of them is you around April time, you send Peeps, that gross candy that's just like puffed up marshmallow, and it's with a little card that says, "Have your peeps call my peeps." Right? It's goofiness, and I appreciate the goofy.
Yeah, I
But
like that. That's cute.
yeah, they have a bunch of these little cards, and you can find them on Pinterest and anywhere. But if you're going to do a drop off or a pop by, then you need to know what day of the month that you're going to do that. And so that you put on your calendar as one day of the month. So again, here's another thing where you've called them for your alphabet calls. So you're on you're on their phone. You've mailed out your newsletter. So you're in their mailbox. And now you're dropping off an item and you're at their front door. So from that, you're not going to, they're not going to, what?
Go ahead. No, finish your thought. That's just me raising my hand.
Okay. But they're not going to unsubscribe, right? Because you haven't
Right.
irritated the shit out of them with a daily update or a weekly newsletter. Like by the time you send me about the fifth weekly newsletter, I'm done listening to you. I'm going to unsubscribe or I'm just going to delete it. And, who cares? I'm not going to open it though. This
Right.
allows you to hit them from all different angles so that you're able to continue to stay in front of them without irritating the crap out of them. That makes
Yeah.
sense. What
We
was your
we
question?
Yeah, so we call it FaceTime, and I think the FaceTime is the most important thing, because to your point, you're in their face, you're face to face, you're having a real interaction, and I love the idea of bringing something of value. It doesn't need to be something super expensive, like you said, just some peeps, or like, hey, home values have gone up. Here's 100 grand chocolate bar, or there's a million ideas if you just Google around different things you can bring that are inexpensive. And then a couple clarifying questions on this. Are you dropping it off at their house? Are you calling them to let them know, or is this a surprise? Let's talk a little more about how you do that.
Yeah, it's more of a surprise. And this is again for you specifically for your sphere of influence. Now, when you talk about dropping off like stats and the 100 grand or whatever, that you can work your farm in this to include what you're dropping off and how often you're going to your farm. So if you're going to do something like fast stats one week and then events another week, you can actually visit your farm 2 times a month by going, okay, these are the 2 days a month that I'm going to be walking my farm and dropping off items. So I'm going to be dropping off fast stats, which I'm a big believer in. Use both sides because that's wasted real estate. Don't ever let a blank side of a piece of paper go. That's where you do your I love me stuff. Here, I'm fabulous. Here's what I offer. And so you can add that to your calendar if you intend to do that. So if you're door knocking, what are you bringing me? Or are you just door knocking and asking if I'm, want to sell my house? That's great if you are, but it's easier if you are introducing yourself and you say, I'm a local real estate agent that I specialize in this area and I would love the opportunity to work with you. But I also wanted you to know, here are the stats for your neighborhood on what's happening within your neighborhood, because even if you don't want to sell, everybody wants to know what's going on with real estate in their neighborhood.
Exactly. Yeah,
So you
very
can
true.
yeah, so you can add that to your calendar. And then again, it just means that instead of saying that you're going to do it, you're actually have it on your calendar where you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing tomorrow. I already
Yep.
know. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree. And just to add to that, I think the door knocking piece is hugely important. And door knocking is hard for a lot of people to just go and knock doors, but it becomes easier when you have a reason, right? And we're going to get to events here in a minute, but even if it's an open house, right? Hey, knock the neighborhood and say, "Hey, I'm having an open house this Saturday. I'm going to have, tacos or donuts or coffee or whatever. Would love
Whatever.
to have you come by." Now you're in a dialogue with people as opposed to just, being a flyer delivery person.
No, absolutely. And that's why I look at it as a shield, right? Even in my open houses, when I talk about how to present at an open house and what you're saying, I want something that I'm going to go, here's more information, right? Don't put your face and the hours of the open house and hand them a flyer like you've given them something of value. They know
Yeah.
what time the open house is, they're standing in it.
Right.
They don't need your face. They
Exactly.
need information. And then your information is also on there, but they need information about that property. So I look at, door knocking or open houses or anything. I want my own little shield of piece of paper that I have in my hand it's a reason to hand it to them. So you want to make sure that it is something of value that you're giving to them and providing
Yes.
for them. Um,
Totally agree. And just back to the calendar here. Um, I see you have drop off day as looks like the last Wednesday of each month.
right.
So again, you've got it listed there. It's very clear. You know when it's coming. You know a couple days before I got to order my giveaway thing.
Exactly.
Makes it very clear. So I love that.
And if you can arrange this, like we were talking about with the door knocking, you can arrange this if Fast Stats comes out on the 14th of every month, and I don't know when it comes out, right? But if it comes out on the 14th of every month, you can just switch to where every 15th of the month, right? Or this third Friday is when you're going to be dropping off Fast Stats. However it is that you are able to organize it, you want to be able to do that and have it on there quickly so that you know that you're doing it every month. Again,
Yeah.
I just want to point out that stuff like and I did this automatically when just preparing this. If you notice over here on the spring break, oh wait, I'm not there. There we go. On spring break, that last Wednesday of the month is when I should have been dropping things off. But because I already had it marked, I knew that I needed to pull this back by a week in order to make sure that I got it done for that month, but I also was still able to take my time off. So this is the biggest thing that I have found. Again, it's super, super simple, very basic, but it keeps you organized where you don't forget and you don't turn around and go, oh, yeah, I was supposed to do that, but that's the last week of the month. So
Yeah,
I didn't do it
exactly.
this
It doesn't fall through the cracks. It puts the
exact
important stuff top of mind. So
exactly.
let's see. So far we've gotten days off that we want to take and
Hmm.
vacations. We've got our database calls on Tuesdays. We've got our newsletter day. We've got our
Days and
birthdays, close anniversaries, and all of that. And then we've got our drop off day to either our farm or our client database or both.
mhm.
And anything else you guys have questions on, let us know. Give us some thumbs up if you like this, but we're going to keep going. What's next?
Yeah, well, and don't forget, right? One of my most important things is you're putting in your open houses. That is a huge
Oh
thing
yeah,
for me.
open houses. I forgot that. That's right.
Yeah.
Every other weekend.
Or however you just the number of open houses that you are going to hold and then just start filling them in. I like to cheat and
Perfect.
put them on the same weekend too for the same weekend and I count it as two. And I'm usually doing it at the same house that week. Like I'm going to cheat as much as I can. I'm going to make these numbers work as well as I can for myself.
Good.
But
I like
so
it.
this one here is now we've gotten into the events, right? That's the last thing that I have that I'm putting on here. So one thing that I wanted to point out, let me see if I can pull it up closer. For anybody that follows me, you know that I do an annual party in July. So let me get closer here. And so what I do here is my annual pool party. This is a big deal for me, right? My budget for this is somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 every year. So this is my big event.
And she
Um,
throws a big party.
yeah. It's a
Yeah.
big pool party. It's something that allows me to have it's a family affair, so this allows me to bring in people's children and all this kind of thing. So I need to decide really early on when I'm going to be doing that. It typically is the third Wednesday or excuse me, the third Saturday, I was going to say the third week in July, but sometimes we have to bounce between these 2 weeks, right? Depending on what's going on. And so if I know that I'm going to be hosting it on July 20th of that year, I'm going to back up into all the activities that I'm doing for this party. And it starts all the way back here in May, right? 8 weeks before with save the date. So
Mm.
I'm going to send out a save the date email, social media blast, this sort of thing, just saying,
And
hey,
you've
we've chosen
literally
the date.
written that on the calendar on May 24th, about two
Yes,
months before the party. So now
that's
again, you
exactly it.
know you're not going to miss it. You've thought it out in advance.
Absolutely. And then the next activity that I have to do, right, is I'm going to mail the invites for my party because this is such a big party that I actually mail it out. And then this right here, it says reminder and gift announcement. So at my party, we give away gifts, and I'm going to send a reminder that, like, hey, don't forget, right? Even though you got it. And then this day is where I did links to review. So one of the things that I do 2 weeks before the party is I remind them that, hey, you can get more tickets, right? How you get the gifts is through tickets that you drop into different jars at the party for things that you want. And the way that you get additional tickets is you get one ticket for showing up, you get one ticket for referring me a client, whether they closed or not that year. You get one for that. You get another ticket if they closed a transaction. You get a ticket if you leave me a Google review or a Facebook review or a Instagram review or whatever. You get
I
like
love it.
Zillow, all of these. You get extra tickets for that. So this gives me the opportunity to not only ask for the review, but to send them directly the link so that they just click on it and leave a review. And then I go, yay, you get an extra ticket, right? And
Yeah,
you know
that's
what you're getting.
really smart.
Thank you. But what
Yeah.
this also does is if you notice, 8 weeks before I'm sending them something digitally, 6 weeks before I'm back in their mailbox, right? 4 weeks before is when I'm sending, it was when I'm just telling them about the party, right? 2 weeks before is when I'm letting them know that we've got all of this going on. And then you get into down here, which is 10 days before the party. I'm going to actually call everybody, or my assistant is one of the two, to confirm because we need to confirm the number of people for food, right? To order food. Do I really need to do that? No. To be perfectly honest, I don't. I'm going to make more food than anybody knows what to do with because I'm an old Mexican lady and that's what we do. We feed everybody, right? I'm a Texan. So, do I need to make that call? No, I don't. But it's another reminder and a good excuse to give them a call.
Mm.
And then down here, these come real quick, right? Because 3 days before, I'm going to send the reminder email or text message, right? Just, hey, just wanted to remind you that it's coming up this week. And then
Yep.
the 2 days before, I'm like, I'm so excited to see you in a couple of days, right? Or you could do that the day before. I'm so excited to see everybody tomorrow. And then I'm going to do the address confirmation either the day before or the day of. Like, just wanted to remind you this so that you have it easily accessible. Here's the address again. And then, of course, you've got the actual party where we've got photographers and we're taking pictures and we encourage everyone to take a picture and hashtag Molly Winkle Inc. and all this kind of stuff. And then after that, we're going to do the thank you announcements, which is when I come back and I say thank you to everybody um, on email and text message and all of this kind of stuff. And then this is the day that I know I need to make sure I go back and post all of those pictures on social media, and I'm tagging everybody that was at the party or was invited to the party, right?
Mm.
Because that lets their people see what was going on and what they missed out on and all this kind of stuff. So do I
Yeah.
do this for uh everyone that came to the party? No, I do it for everyone that was invited to the party because FOMO is a real thing, right? And
Most
so I want
definitely.
so I want them to make sure that that they realize what they missed out on. So I add all of these in here. Now I also do, and I added it in here. I also do a couple of cocktail parties. Let me back off a little bit so I can see those. I do 2 cocktail parties throughout the year, and those are adult only because it's a cocktail party. It's at my house. We do a big, like, either charcuterie spread or we'll do, one time I had a chef come in that was the official chef of the NFL one year. She's a
Wow.
girlfriend of mine who I know through my connections. And if you've ever seen my house, I have this like massive chef's kitchen. So she came to do it for free because she just wanted to work in my kitchen. She loved it. And she came and made really quick items that you can do that are people think are fancy, and they, you think that it's a fancy thing to do and that it's really hard to do, but it was really easy to make. And so she made them and did a little cooking demonstration where everybody got to eat and we're having cocktails. So you had a moment to like socialize with everybody that was there, and then they also had something that they could go focus on because she just cycled through a handful of items that she was making, not to mention that
Yeah.
the food was bomb.
And anytime you can make it an experience like that, it's going to be easier to get people there. It's going to be more posted about, more talked about. So I love how you kind of make it an experience. Do you have a similar cadence for those events where you're, you know, adding the invites and all that in advance and all of those
Absolutely.
things?
So
Okay.
that's where we come down here. Here's our cocktail party. The other thing by having this 12 months, let me back off again, right? The other thing about having this as one full year is we're not butting them up against each other. If I
Right.
know
You can
that I'm
easily
having
see
this
where the
party,
gaps are.
exactly. So if I
Yeah.
know I'm having the party in July, right, then I want to go back about 3 months to make sure that I'm doing my cocktail party in the spring and then one again in the fall, right? So I
Just
can
got a
see,
comment that says that's a really great idea, Molly.
oh, well,
And I
thanks.
agree.
But so here's your cocktail party, right? So if I'm going to throw a cocktail party, it's less formal than the other one, but I do need to know when that cocktail party is going to happen, right? So again, we're going to start here, and then I think it's 2 weeks before. Okay, so 2 weeks before is when I'm going to send the invite. This one, I'm not going to mail an invitation out, but I'm going to do social media posts. I'm going to do Eventbrite or whatever it is, right? And I'm going to send a text message out to invite them. And then over here, I'm going to call to confirm and find out when they're coming. So that's going to be about a week before that. 2 days before is when I'm sending out that reminder message. The day before is when I'm sending out a really excited to see you tomorrow message. And then that morning of, I'm sending the reminder of the actual address. Hey, just wanted to make sure that you had the address so that they can click on it within their text message. This allows me, if you notice, I'm having one event, but I'm reaching out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times beforehand. So that's 5 touches before we even talk about the event. And then, of course, for the event, you have same kind of thing, which apparently I forgot to write it on here, but you've got the thank you for coming afterwards, the social media blast and tag and pictures and this sort of thing. And so you've got a couple of extra items. So if I'm touching you 5 times here and the event and the thank you and the social media blast, that counts for 8 touches for your clients, right? Twice a year. So there's 16 right there. But again, I didn't irritate the piss out of you
Right.
because this is me inviting you. And then I think I put one on here in November. A lot of people do a pie giveaway. I saw that going on. So if you're going to do a pie party, or where they come and pick it up from you at the place, or if you're going to drop it off, whatever it is. And then if you notice right here, I put order pies, because what's the thing that we want to do? We know that we're going to do it, and then we forget to make the order. So I want to do that about a week in advance. So these are just whatever your ideas are. Again, we've got, if you're going to do a garage sale, you want to do it like the events where you're putting it on here and you know when that's going to be.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing this month in December, you know all of 2024, what events you're going to hold, when you're doing open houses, when you need to call your clients, how often you're calling them, when you're sending out cards. Like you're able to plan your entire year of marketing and events, and it's up on your wall. It's a reminder each time. It won't
Yeah.
get lost. It allows you to put everything into perspective. Like I said, if you know that you're having a party in the summer and you want to do something in fall and spring, then you're able to bounce that off. Another thing that I used to do, just to throw this out there really quickly, I didn't do it this past year. I was sick and we were up at the cabin, but I don't play with Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Like I don't play with any of the holidays in December. I feel like it just gets me into trouble. That's my personal point of view, right? And then you've got atheists also who don't believe in anything and they get insulted when you say anything. So I just don't even play with it. And so instead of sending out holiday cards, if you're going to do that, you need to have that on here about when you're going to send that off. Maybe you do it with your birthday cards, but I do a champagne drop off where I take a bottle of champagne every year for those that referred a client that closed with me, or referred a client to me that year, or if you bought or sold a house with me that year, you get a bottle of Veuve. So nice bottle of champagne. It's another one where I pick a day in here toward the end of the year, usually either like the 30th or the 27th, because New Year's Eve, you want a bottle of champagne. And so I will pick that day to go out and deliver them. And what was so funny about this event one year that I did this was I had people that were in South San Diego that were watching me because I started in Temecula, Murrieta, and worked my way down through town, and they were fun. And I even put on there like, hey, I stopped for lunch. My mom was with me that year. And so I was like, hey, mom and I stopped for lunch. Here we are. This is what we're doing. And all day long, I was posting on Instagram, like what part of town we were in. And by the time I hit South San Diego, my clients were like, we've been waiting for you all day.
Yeah.
And so it was great because I take a picture of it when I leave it at the property. The clients take a picture of it and tag me because you're awesome. This is thank you, whatever. And it ends up being a really fun like event day, but you're spending 2 seconds with them. Hey, thank you so much. Just wanted to stop off, give you this bottle of champagne. People know I have a girlfriend of mine that always wants to refer me clients because she wants her bottle of champagne every year. Like it's just a
Yeah.
competitive thing, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Anything you gamify is going to do great.
absolutely. But you
Yeah.
want to put it on, bringing it all full circle. You want to put it on your calendar so that way you don't forget.
Right.
That's
Order
the big
champagne bottles.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. Let me stop sharing that screen. But yeah, so this is something, it's very basic, but it has made one of the biggest differences in my business. And I always get excellent feedback from agents who put it into play. If you're a team lead and you know that you're supposed to have meetings once a month, once a week, once a whatever, however often it is that you're doing it, again, add that in there, and then you know what's already in your calendar for that entire year, and you're not having to think about it or be reminded. That's the biggest thing about this is taking all of those ideas. I call it word vomit, because you just get everything out of your head as quickly as possible, and you're writing everything down about all of these great ideas of what you want to do. And then
Yeah.
when you're looking at the entire 12-month calendar, you're able to go, okay, I can do this here. And you can move it around based on what your vacation schedule is, your kids' event schedules. If you're one that every Thursday is your kids' soccer game, you block off that time. And
Yep.
then what I'll do is I'll go and I'll take that calendar, and then I'll put it into my digital calendar. So that way I've got everything on there. And that allows me to block out the time, because if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't exist, kind of thing. So that's where you're just building and building and building. And before you know it, your calendar ends up looking crazy, because you've got all these things on there, but now you're running a business. Now you know what you're doing. If you're doing your own books, put it in there when you're reconciling your books. Like everything that you're doing, you can schedule out for the entire year to make yourself become an organized person, even when you're scattered, if you're scattered like me.
Yeah,
So,
no, 100%. It gives you absolute clarity in your business. You're going to wake up every Monday morning knowing what you got to do that week. It's very clear. The other thing too is I like how you've spread out the events throughout the year, because to me, I
mhm,
think events are huge for several different reasons. One, it makes your prospecting easier, right? After the event's over, the next 2 weeks, you're just calling, hey, it was great to see you, or hey, sorry you couldn't make it. Hope to see you at the next one. But you have an easy reason to call as events come closer. To your point, now you're inviting, hey, I got this thing coming up. I would love if you could make it. And it just makes prospecting and getting into conversations way easier. So that's one. Two is, um, to your point, like it's social media gold, right? If you can incentivize people to post about you and about your business. Like, I know that when Molly drops off her champagne bottles every year, people are posting about that. Oh, look what me and my realtor brought. We're here together, and that's the type of advertising you just can't buy. So it's a great way to do it. And then if you guys want us to go a little deeper on events, we can do a whole nother training on events, but just want
Mhm.
to kind of touch on how we look at events. We look at it as kind of three different buckets, let's call it. We call it bucket A is like value adds. So that could be training events, first time home buyer seminars. I'd even put open houses in there, all of those different types of events where you're adding value and you're connecting with people. And then the next bucket would be social events where you can just have fun. That could be just a barbecue in your backyard. It could be get a food truck on a cul-de-sac and invite everybody out, beach party. I mean, it could a cocktail party, a pool party, a huge party, whatever it is. But something where people can just have fun, be relaxed. It's not a professional environment, so you're just going to get a lot more real time to connect with people. Um, and then the third bucket is events for your VIPs. So I love
Mhm.
the idea of how the champagne thing is just reserved for people that referred you a deal or closed a deal with you. So now
Absolutely.
it's like now you have this high end thing. So that could be, like you said earlier, like an exclusive, maybe you do like a private chef type thing
Mhm.
in a house and invite people out. But just something that's a little more exclusive to your top people, your top referrals, your top buyers, your top sellers, top investors, all of that. And I think when people start thinking about events, they get nervous about the cost associated with events. But the one thing that you can always find is people to help sponsor to where you can basically do your events for free. So if you find, a moving company, any type of vendor that would also benefit connecting with the similar type of people, that could be your insurance broker, whoever it is, say, hey, for 300 bucks, I'll put you on the flyer. I'll let you have some signage at the event, or you can sponsor the food or sponsor the first drink for everybody or whatever it is. So there's lots of ways you can do these events for virtually free. But yeah, I just
Mhm.
wanted to end that. If you guys want us to do a training separately on events, we're happy to do that. But what do you think about all that?
I think you're exactly on point. Like my service providers sponsor a lot of really cool gifts for my party. And what we do as we're here's a bottle of tequila or, a Ring doorbell or an Apple TV, whatever you call it, right? And we put everybody's names. They can either put them in the items that they want. Like one year I was doing, because I had season tickets to the Padres. And so we did one year where we did, tickets to the Padres and you could basically spit on Manny Machado because you were that close to third base. And so we do a bunch of these giveaway things. And your lender, like you said, your lender, your insurance agent, the moving guy, my inspector, they all were donating items. And so it seems awkward to kind of announce that, but there was a moment where I would take to kind of thank everyone for coming, explain the basis of why they're there, and then shine a light on my sponsors, on my partners that they already knew typically because they had used them, and shine a light on them. And then this gift is sponsored by so and so. And then we would be able to give things away. We have done so much goofy stuff. We did a duck race in the pool where you had to drop the duck and then kick your feet and get it to the other side. That was the most competitive thing I've ever seen, and I never expected. People were like getting angry. It was hilarious um over getting it over there. So there's a lot of goofy things that you can do that are a whole lot of fun. They let your clients see you as a person and as very genuine. You can do a lot of fancy things. That's not really my style, so that's why I don't do it. Even when we do like bringing a private chef in, it's very casual.
Yeah.
So you can take all of these ideas. I know somebody that does a garage sale every year. You
I
don't
was just
just
going to
throw a
say
garage.
there's also events that don't cost any money, like a garage sale, right? Like
Yeah,
that's easy. Get everyone in the neighborhood. You could even contact if there's a school in the neighborhood, contact the school, say, "Hey, can we do this in your parking lot? Will you reach out to all the parents because they have the network of everybody." So if you can
exactly.
get in with the school and say, "Hey, maybe it's a co-sponsored by the school and Molly Winkle, the realtor, and you guys, you help do all the legwork and they'll help
Absolutely.
promote it." But there's lots of free events you could do as well.
Yeah, canned food drives, clothing drives, that sort of thing. If you want to do that around the hall, like events are amazing. The biggest thing that I want to bring it back to for this conversation, though, is all of these. We sit and brainstorm like this all the time with our fellow realtors about what we're going to do throughout the year, and then nothing comes to fruition because we didn't plan it out. And like you said, a
Exactly.
garage sale is free, right? Because you're not actually providing these items. However, there is a lot of work that goes into that and planning. And if
Exactly.
you don't have that timeline worked out on your calendar, something will get missed. And you won't do something you intended to do. And it allows you to just see the whole year. It allows you to see everything that you need to be doing in order to make things actually happen. And like I said, get those ideas out of your head onto paper and then build a plan based on that. So it's a simple, it's the reason why I did it in my own handwriting on the calendar is because it is that basic. I'm not a tech heavy person. I know a lot of people that are, but at the end of the day, all the tech in the world is not going to remind you, right, of everything that you need to do. You can only automate so much, and the ideas flow. In my opinion, some of the things we just need to get back to the basics and back to just work, right? Because that's
Yeah.
the market that we're in. Is it's time to put your head down and work and have a plan and then execute.
Yeah. And now we've all got a plan. Ritu said, "Do one on events." Yes, please. We will do that. Lorena, thanks for
Love
the
you.
kind words. For anyone that wants to connect with Molly, first of all, let me just say I really appreciate you coming on, sharing all these insights, giving us a plan that is very workable, visual, very well thought out, and kind of gives us a weekly action plan for what we're going to do. And I love that. But how
Thank
can
you.
people connect with you?
You can find me on social media. I'd love it if you'd follow me. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Those I'm active on. I'm also on YouTube, which I'm going to be doing some more of these videos. So hopefully I'll be able to post this one to my YouTube channel. Everything
Nice.
is under my name, Molly Winkle Inc. I'm not very imaginative when it comes to things. So it's just my name. Search my name. You can find me really easily. And all my stuff will pop up, my email and my everything else. I'm on everything, I think. So
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. If you got value out of this, like, subscribe, comment. Definitely check out the links in the description. We've got free Facebook groups and lots of different ways to connect and go deeper with us. And as always, if you like money and you like real estate, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Molly.
thank you.